Welcome, everybody. My name is Greg Aaron Greenberg, and with me today is Tammy Warner, a board member with Aortic Hope, as well as me, and a dissection survivor as well. And we are here today to do our live weekend review. Normally it would be on Mondays, but we moved it to Tuesday due to Labor Day. So we will start and we will address last week's post. So this is for the week starting August. Let me think real quick.
30th.
August 30th, 29th. August 29th. But first, I'll start off by welcoming you, Tammy. Good to see you.
Thank you. Good to see you.
And okay, so we will start with the Monday, which is August 30th. And it started with Motivation Monday. And as survivors, we are all asked to take our blood pressure at some point in time. And you would think this would be very easy, but it isn't with that era. And this article from Health Day News, written by Robert Preit, called 7 Mistakes That Boost Your Blood Pressure Reading. Robert shares the Heart Association's outline of 7 common culprits that can alter your blood pressure reading. And you can read that article in the link that we'll be providing below. I happen to print them out here. I don't know if you got a chance to look at it, Tammy. But the 7 that they point to is having a full bladder can add 10 to 15 points to a blood pressure reading. Always try to use the bathroom before getting a reading.
I thought that one was interesting because I knew about the other ones, most of the other ones, but I didn't know that one.
Right. I think that every single one of us might know a couple of these on this list, but we might not practice them. Then they say pour support for your feet or back while seated can raise your blood pressure reading by 6 to 10 points. And you should sit in a chair with your back supported and feet on the floor or footstool, which makes sense. But like me, I would like to know how many other people potentially are sitting at the edge of their bed when they do it.
Yeah.
Which I've done, which in a lot of cases doesn't mean my feet are on the floor or my back is supported. Crossing your legs can add 2 to 8 points to your reading. Never would have thought of that. Yeah. If your arm hangs by your side or you must hold it up while getting a reading, your blood pressure numbers may be 10 points higher than your actual finger.
Doesn't that make you wonder about when you go to the doctors and they have your arm up over your head just about when because you're sitting and they're standing? I always think about that now when I'm at the doctors and they do it.
Yeah, it's you always have it up. I mean, the good ones, you'll be in a chair and they have it so that you can prop it up on the chair. But there are, like, when it doesn't have an armrest or anything, I hold it up so that it's equal to my heart. That's how I thought it was.
It was important. I thought the same thing. Yes.
Having the cuff placed over clothing can add 5 to 50 points to your reading.
Yes.
Cuff should be on a bare arm. Now, that's one of those things that I knew was like a no-no. You don't put it over.
I knew that too, but sometimes I'll go to take off I'll have on like a zippered sweatshirt and I'll go to take it off and they'll be like, oh, no, you're fine. So like, okay.
Yeah, that's weird. I mean, and then a too small cuff can add 2 to 10 points to a reading.
I didn't know that either. I just asked.
I don't know what defines too small.
Right, because I've only seen like adult and child ones when I've gone to buy them. I mean, I don't ever use the wrist one, but I asked my son-in-law who's a paramedic about it, and he said that he really didn't know anything about that either. He said they only come in one size unless you work in a very
I think on their end, I think they're basically saying, like, if it's too tight, like the idea of like you can self-tighten and then you're fine. If it's already tight and you're not even like securing at that point, I think is what they're pointing to here. That might be too small of a cuff for you already. Here's one that I have definitely blown out the window multiple times. Talking can add 10 points to your reading. Remain still and silent while your blood pressure is taken. If I told you how many times that, like, Kat has requested me to take my blood pressure, and then I'm in the course of talking to her through the whole reading.
Yes. I will say I have been, when I've had my blood pressure taken at the doctor's, they will usually say, don't now stop talking or whatever.
Yeah, no, I've been told basically very nicely to shut up when I've been at the doctor's. I just don't necessarily apply it at home. So, I mean, it's, it kind of gives me a relatively good feeling because, there are times, I mean, I feel like my blood pressure is good controlled, but there are times where I get a number that's like 10, 12 points higher than where I would ultimately really, truly want to be. And I'm not following a lot of this. So, in my opinion, then, if I'm talking through it and my BP is 8 or 10 points higher than it normally would be, then I'm probably around normal.
Right.
Because I'm artificially raising.
And I did have to, I mean, we've talked about this before, but when I've gotten a reading that I didn't like, and then I redo it like 5 minutes later, like I know that it's not correct because you've already like squeezed your arm and that kind of thing. But
I think,
but it's
we
just
do ourselves a disservice. We do ourselves a disservice by cheating, because we do it to make ourselves feel good in the moment.
But sometimes when I get what I think is a decent reading, when I put it into my computer, it automatically goes into my phone, the one I'm using from Omron. It'll say that it's high or it's too low, and I'll be like, but the standards that's out there for the national whoever doesn't always fit what I've been told.
Well, that's the whole thing you have to keep in mind when they're logging your BP, they're not getting the specifics of your story.
Right.
So
so I don't worry about that.
There was a period where I was 130/85. Okay. The doctors, I was on enough drugs to knock down an elephant, and I was still like 130/85. And it was like consistent. And my doctors basically at that point were like, Greg, your bigger problem, or what has been a big problem for you, has been spikes. So, yes, this is a little higher than we ultimately would want it, but it's consistent. It doesn't really go anywhere.
Right.
You're right there. So, like, we'll accept this for now. But you put me into an app like you're talking about, and it would be like, no, you're on the high side.
But I do like I feel like putting in an app and only looking at the numbers, not how the app interprets it, but having those numbers are so important for myself and for my doctor. So if you are going to take the time to take your blood pressure, you really should take the time to record it somehow.
Exactly. And that's what the point is. The point is to get something out of the numbers. I don't need someone, like you said, I don't need the app to tell me it's high or it's low at this point.
Right.
Because to be honest with you, I mean, not that it's dangerously low, but I mean, there are people that are in our community that are 90/60 regularly with their meds. Now, 90/60 for me would be sudden, and it would knock me on my caboose. But for a lot of other people, that's the norm of what they're used to operating and functioning on.
Well, my blood pressure was the indicator to my doctor to change. Well, I'm gonna say like 5 of my medications. We discontinued some and changed some based on looking at my blood pressure over like a 3-day period. So it is,
and that is the point of keeping the log in the journal, is
not fudging to make it look right.
Get a picture of it. Listen. We all fudge. Are you checking your blood pressure at home? Yes, I am.
I know. I went away this weekend.
Meanwhile, like if you were actually watching their life, they took it once in 3 weeks.
Yeah, I went away this weekend and I haven't. I usually do it in the morning. I have a routine of where I sit and when I take it, and it's right there so that I don't have to go look for it. And I didn't take it away with me this weekend, so I haven't done it yet.
I'll be honest, I don't take it as much anymore. I mean, this many years out, I can kind of
You
tell
can tell,
when
yeah.
something
I can
when
tell
something
when
is not
you get
this.
that thump, I
But
get
I
the
will still take it if I'm curious. And this is
yeah.
something that I've always preached, and I know you've heard me say it. I do like knowing how like a certain meal or a certain sodium content in a meal, like what that will do. So I will sometimes take it for no reason other than, hey, I had Chinese food. I'm curious. It's an hour after I've eaten. Where's my BP go with this?
Yeah, a good idea.
You know, and that's all you can ask. But okay, so we will move on to topic Tuesday. Ooh, okay. Topic Tuesday is a fun one.
I like
This one
this
I
one.
enjoy.
Yeah, I like
We want to share with you the art of kintsugi from Better by Today in the article written by Tiffany Ayuda titled How the Japanese Art of Kintsugi Can Help You Deal with Stressful Situations. If you don't know, kintsugi is the Japanese art of putting broken pottery pieces back together with gold. So it is built on the idea that embracing flaws and imperfections, you can create an even stronger, more beautiful piece of art. Every break is unique, and instead of repairing an item like new, the 400-year-old technique actually highlights the scars as a part of the design. Using this as a metaphor for healing ourselves teaches us an important lesson. Sometimes in the process of repairing things that have broken, we actually create something more unique, beautiful, and resilient. If you have the time and can go to the store, pick up a piece of pottery, specifically a bowl, and use a small hammer and claw for protection, wrap the bowl and hit it with a hammer a few times until it breaks into larger pieces. Hitting the bowl can actually be a bit therapeutic too. We can all get a little aggression out. But next, using gold epoxy, glue the pieces back together. After it dries completely, you will find that you have a broken bowl that is now put back together. Not in its original form, but beautiful nonetheless. And for more detailed information about kintsugi, you can click on the link below. This is something that we talk about all the time. Uh, and that is really like flipping the script, changing your perspective on how you look at things. Um, at least to me. You can tell me how you feel about it.
Well, I had not seen this until about a year ago is the first time I heard about this. But it made me think about many years ago. I was working with a family. I was a teacher, and I was working with a family, and the child had a very difficult diagnosis, and she wanted her child to be like everybody else. And I came across a book that was called The Broken Seashell. And the story was basically about how we spend our time walking the beach looking for the perfect shell when there's all these other shells there that are just as beautiful, even though they're missing a piece or they've been worn down by the sand or whatever. So the thought was familiar to me, but I'd always remembered that book. And I like this. And after I read it, I was going to say something to Karen about that would be a great one of our videos is to actually do that, break it. And then as we're talking about it, we could, glue it back together and talk about the metaphor, how it really affects the people in our community and not just us, but our caregivers. My sister, my mom, my husband, my kids. So it's not always just about us, but they go through a lot also.
Yeah, no, and I subscribe to this idea greatly because I am the biggest proponent for wear your scars proudly. I am unfortunately covered in them at this point, and if I didn't find a way somehow to embrace them, I would lose my mind. Um, so I have always been a proponent of show them off, don't hide it, be very comfortable with them, wear them proudly. Um, and this is basically that idea
I
that
just found
so,
a T-shirt that said scars tell better stories than tattoos. So
And
I
that's
bought it.
absolutely true. And that's absolutely true. And we will see a shirt. I'm in the process. I would just tease a little bit. I'm in the process of working on one for us that might pop up in the Cafe Pressure that will be
Yeah,
about scars and wearing them proudly.
yeah. I used
Um,
to. Now I have a shirt on today that pretty much covers my scars because we don't have just that scar that goes down our chest. We've got scars, in my neck and all these other places.
yeah.
And yeah, I used to try to hide it. I don't hide it anymore. It's part of my story. And if somebody wants to ask me about it, I'm happy to give them a short version of my story.
But again, that's what I'm saying with the flipping the script. You can turn something that you might have been ashamed about initially or that you covered up, and
Yeah,
then it becomes an awesome
it's
moment
just part of you.
for
Yeah.
potentially making someone aware of, you know, of maybe something that might save their life or a loved
Right.
one, save one of their loved ones' life then in the long run. So
Absolutely.
I mean, it's all about that. And here with this sort of art, it really is. It's that perfect metaphor for, yeah, we broke, us as dissection survivors. We broke a little bit. Aneurysm people, we'll say broke a little bit
Took a
also because
lot.
you're gonna you eventually gonna have surgery and have scars, but yours might have been more of like a severe bend to the point of fracture, and then we had to like quickly put you back together and the surgery, but the scars there nonetheless. And something came out of it. There's a strength that comes out of it.
Oh,
Um,
definitely. Oh,
and
definitely.
that's where it is. Like that piece now with that gold epoxy and this might actually be stronger than that piece of pottery was initially.
I think that's true. It's interesting to me, like I feel different. All my scars, what I had to go through to get those scars, and the resiliency. Um, I feel different, but I don't think people realize that I'm different. Because even though they see the scars, they don't realize what happens, what changes you mentally, the things you don't um, like ruminate about, like
Yeah.
the things that you don't worry about anymore, the things. And it's not even, oh, I have to put that out of my life. It's like you just realize in your deepest part of your soul that there are things in this world that don't matter, and all those little cliches like it's none of your business what somebody thinks about you, don't sweat the small stuff, all of that stuff is so true. But there's no way to express that any more than what people have said until you experience it and you feel that in your gut, and you know it to be true without a doubt.
No, you're 100% correct. And it's also, I mean, there's that dichotomy too, is that they might see the physical scar,
Right.
but there's an we all know that there's an emotional scar
That's
that's left
equal
too.
to. It's not like a little piece. It's not a tiny little piece that kind of tails along with it. It is huge and it's just as
Right.
big. I've said on here before, I spent the first year of my dissection. I really feel like I spent the first year physically healing, and the second year is when I allowed myself to mentally address the healing that needed to happen. Um, and if you don't address it, it's gonna bite you in the butt.
No, it'll catch up. I mean, we you can try to avoid it as much as you want.
Yeah.
It's going to eventually, it's going to rear its head at some point.
Yes. And it
And
can.
you're absolutely right. I think in that first year, I mean, especially for me, I mean, that
And
first
again,
year,
it's
that
very
first year was a mess, and with
yes.
everything with my story, but that first year was
Yes.
truly physical. Now I had to address certain aspects of the
Yeah.
mental because it was invading my physical nature. I was having actual physiological responses, but that was stuff that we handled medication wise.
Right.
I didn't really learn the coping that I would need to learn.
Right.
I was just learning a little bit of a breathing technique, and a medication would stop
I
and
would say
potentially
that
control nightmares and cramping and
that makes perfect sense that that first year was just how to cope, how to kind of band-aid it until you could address it. But and again, this sounds cliche. I feel like I'm a better person because of it. I'm a better person because of what I've been through. As far as my relationships with other people, how I view the world, how I view what's important and what's not important. And
Well,
sometimes
it changes perspective.
does
It has to.
it
It
has
has
to,
to.
but I don't feel like people understand that it's just as large as the surgery. It's just as large as the physical part. They just think it's something that kind of came along with it.
Yeah, I mean,
Like,
it's
oh, you must be so grateful that you're alive. Well, yeah. Like it
yeah.
goes
Well,
way
you know what
past
it is? It's unfortunate you don't really understand it. You understand it a little bit now that you're in it. I understand it. Like now it's managing something that's a chronic issue.
yes.
And that is
And that's a
now
different mental health.
learning how to fight the fight that you need to fight.
That's a different mental health.
The battles when they come, how you're going to handle it and everything
Yeah.
like that. That is a whole change in perspective to like what's important, how you're going
Right.
to handle stuff moving forward.
And if you don't do the work, if you don't do the work in the recovery part, then when you do, like you said, when you do get to the maintenance and the surprise surgeries or whatever, um, you don't have the tools to do it. And you'll learn certain things. Like I know now when a doctor starts talking to me about something that's going to be life altering, like another open heart surgery or a new medication or whatever it is. I sometimes I will say to them, because they're just ready to roll and give me the information, and I will say, I need a minute. You
Yeah.
just stop talking. I need a minute. I need to get my breath. I need to take a breath, and then I'll let you start talking again. And I would have never done that before. I would have felt like that was rude. But this has to do with being able to understand and participate
Right.
in
You
healthcare.
need to put yourself in the best case
Yeah.
situation.
Yeah.
And that was one of the things. I mean, you and I spoke. I mean, you and I, let's be honest, I mean, it's just us now in this conversation, but in the last year, you and I have been two dissectees that have had
Yeah.
another open heart.
Another layer.
Um, and you know, that was part of what I wanted to relay to you is with me being going through it first. It's understandable to be nervous about it. I mean, it's a giant punch when
Yeah.
that comes. Hey, you're going to do it. It's scary,
But
but
it does help to have community. The
right.
community.
But that's why I wanted to like definitely talk to you before yours
And it
because I
helped.
was like, listen, I wasted a little bit of too much being a little too worried and concerned. I kind of did a little bit in retrospect. It's normal to.
Yeah.
It's all completely normal, everything you feel. Be afraid. It's open heart surgery.
Yes.
I mean, God's sakes, it's open heart. It's going to be normal to be concerned. But I will admit that I probably gave myself a little more anxiety than I needed to do. And a lot of that was because I was afraid that it was going to be similar to my emergency. And I only had the
Yes.
perspective that I had from my original,
I remember our
horror show.
conversation. I remember our conversation, and I appreciated it and put it to use as much as possible.
And you don't even believe it. Like I said it to you, and I'm like, hopefully she'll hear it. She's not, and I literally said it to you, and we've had other friends in this community.
Yeah.
There's been somebody else, Diane, who we thought was going to be with us today. She also could have been in the same conversation because she's another one in the last couple of months that has had one. But you say it, but ultimately I know that what I said to you is not going to resonate 100% until you're on the other side of it.
No, but
And then you had the surgery and then you go, aha, now I know why Greg said what he said.
But hearing it from somebody who has lived it is much easier than hearing it from my doctor who hasn't lived it.
Right.
He's observed it. He didn't live it.
Right.
So.
I mean, it's great. I mean, but it's exactly. And it is what it is.
But that's the purpose of
I think the important thing, like going back to this post, is that you can look at how you change the perspective how you now start to approach things and how that changes. And
Yes.
there's a beauty in it, and that's the important thing.
Yes, I agree.
Okay, so
Hi, guys.
hi, who is it? Karen's watching us. Hey, Karen, we miss you. It's a shame you're not here. Who else is with us? Oh, she's the only one chatting. Okay, so it's good to have her here, visiting and supporting us, even though she couldn't be here physically. Karen is enjoying herself, which she's entitled to. A little bit of a vacay for her. And we will move on to Think It Through Thursday. Now, this is really where we're smack dead right into Aortic Disease Awareness Month. And this is where we're going to start. You'll see a lot of the posts and the rest of this one. And moving forward, that'll be much more informational about actual aortas and situations, emergencies, whatever. It'll be act conditions. This is where we'll talk about it. And it starts with the Think It Through Thursday. And it's to better understand aortic disease, one has to understand the aorta. So in this month, we will be helping to offer awareness, inspire, and educate you and your loved ones about many aspects of aortic disease. And that is why we designated the entire month to do it, because there's that much to understand. So we start with Aorta 101. And you can click on the link below to learn more about the aorta as a whole. But to summarize it, the aorta is the main artery that carries blood away from your heart to the rest of your body. After the blood leaves the heart through the aortic valve, it travels through the aorta, making a cane-shaped curve that connects with other major arteries to deliver oxygen-rich blood to your brain, muscles, and other cells. The aorta is more than an inch wide in some places. It can be approached 2 would be normal in a lot of places. And it has 3 layers. The inner layer, which is referred to as the intima, the middle layer, which is referred to as the media, and the outer layer, which is the adventia. When a problem occurs with the aorta, the heart and the entire blood supply can be jeopardized. When affected by a disease, the aorta can split, which is what we refer to as dissection, or dilate, which is an aneurysm. And in either case, a rupture can then have fatal results. The 3 types of aortic aneurysms can be classified as abdominal aortic aneurysms. So that is the area that is below your diaphragm and below. Then there are thoracic aneurysms, which is obviously diaphragm and above. And then there's the thoraco-abdominal aneurysms, which is that area that is right around that the diaphragm. It's kind of
The watch and wait ones.
Yeah, it's kind of a weird one because you're kind of getting in between vascular and cardiothoracic surgeons at that point. So it's a little weird, and some approaches are a little different when that's surgery. But yeah, so those are the 3 types, and there are a variety of diseases and conditions that can cause damage to the aorta and put patients at great life-threatening risk. These conditions include arteriosclerosis, which is hardening of the arteries. That can happen both with an acute cause, or that can just be life for a lot of people. So that happens with age. Hypertension, which is high blood pressure. Then there are genetic conditions and connective tissue disorders such as Marfan or Ehlers-Danlos, or Loeys-Dietz syndrome, or polychondritis, scleroderma, osteogenesis imperfecta, polycystic kidney disease, Turner syndrome, all those, and there are others as well. Ankylosing spondylitis. There are a lot of things that can contribute, connective tissue wise. And then there's injury, which the trauma or car accidents or stuff like that. Or even in some cases, people don't realize, like John Lennon, it was a gunshot, but the bullet tore his aorta. So he actually died of a ruptured aorta caused by the gunshot.
Injury.
So it can happen with trauma. Most often that trauma is car accidents, but it can happen with a hard enough blow to the chest, or anything along the lines of that. So that basically sums up your aorta.
I will say, I really appreciate the pictures that have been going along with these posts, the diagrams. If you go back to the article before that we were just discussing about breaking a bowl and gluing it back together, blah, blah, blah. Like I can picture that in my head. But when I've been reading articles and trying to understand about the aorta, it's not something that I'm familiar with, other than other pictures I have seen or diagrams doctors have drawn for me. So I really appreciate the simplicity and the labeling that's been in the pictures that have been posted and in the articles.
I will apologize. My dog is not behaving. Yeah, and I think that in the community, I think that's important why you should look
Yes.
when people share like their scans.
Mm-hmm.
They might show a picture of their scan or anything like that. Because like you said with the bowl, you start to get the idea like,
right.
oh my God, that's their graft.
Right.
Look at how that goes in.
I've seen what happens when a piece of dish breaks. I'm familiar with glue. I understand what the rim of the bowl is, the base of the bowl. When you start talking to me about my aorta and, like, I don't know what all the subclavian, I don't know all those terms. They're not part of my vocabulary.
Right. And I think that's what's very important, I think, to start understanding your diagnosis and
how it relates to you.
How it relates to you. You need to understand the actual anatomy of the situation.
And I am not shy anymore about telling my doctor if I don't understand. I used to just leave and think I could look it up. But then what I was finding is, like we've talked before, I didn't know how it related to me. So I have said to my doctors before, now I will say, can you put that in a drawing for me? Can you help me understand? I can't picture that. I don't know what you mean. And I've never had one of them tell me no. And if they did, then I need to look for a new doctor. But it really,
I think that's,
really does help.
and it's a basic understanding of the anatomy.
Mm-hmm.
And I mean, you've seen it in the community, and it's not anyone's fault, but how many people I don't understand, how can somebody have so many complications? And then you look at this and you're like, every major artery that feeds anywhere in your body comes off of this
aorta.
Of your aorta at some point, whether it's up in the arch, where your subclavian and your carotid, so your arms get fed and your head gets fed, or lower in the abdominal where it's feeding your kidneys, where it's feeding your liver, where there's an artery that feeds your stomach and intestines, where one goes to feed your spine, where it branches off to now feed your legs. All these branch off of that. And if there's a problem in the main part of the hose, blood's not going to get everywhere that it needs to go. Or it can be impaired to get there. So understanding that the mechanics and the anatomy of it is very important. I think once you get to there and you understand how it can affect you, or how it affects different people differently, but why yours is this specific, it starts to make sense.
The next step is, once I understood the aorta, I realized I could not understand the repairs, the surgeries. I couldn't understand that until I understood the beginning, what it looked like originally. and then explain to me what happened during my surgeries, and what happened afterwards. Like, why do my legs feel funny? Well, the blood's not getting there as much. You're repaired, but the blood's not getting there. Why do I hear such a pounding in one side of my carotid arteries when I lay on that side, but not on the other? Because I'm dissected on that side. To just try to understand, but don't be afraid to ask questions.
Exactly. Oh my God, my dog is. Hold on 1 second. Let's give her.
He's asking questions. He has something to say. Hi, guys. Thanks for joining us. Hope you're learning something. Okay. How long ago was that, Kurt? And hi to Deb.
Yes, hi to everyone. I didn't exactly hear who's with us. I heard Deb's with
Deb
us.
and Kurt.
Oh, Deb and Kurt. So definitely, yes. Hi, Kurt. Thank you again for joining us. And Deb, thank you for joining us. Hopefully my dogs will be a little more supportive of what we're trying to do here.
Oh, the joys of working from home.
Yes, it's there's people outside and I can't control that, and they're reacting to them. But okay, I want to move at this point before I move to Friday. I want to touch upon, because we shared them, that there is just a lot of events.
Yes.
For the month.
September.
Because it's September. So we can talk about some of them.
The Ben Yodelman, I watched.
For them to join us, we have
I learned so much from every time he speaks. I learned so much.
Yeah, so we had the live Q&A with him that kicked off last Thursday. That can be found on this YouTube channel right now.
There's so much information, and it helps so much for you to know what to talk to your doctor about.
We will have our usual support groups. There'll be one actually following this.
Yes.
That's next up in the day for me. So those will be going on as usual for the month. There's an Ask Your Doctor tonight, actually, with Dr. Prakash, which is always good. Those are always.
No question is too big or too small. He's great at answering.
And he answers them in real time. So that's done on our Facebook page for the time being. And so that's good. Next week, we'll have a live Q&A with Dr. Fisher.
Looking forward to that one.
Cardiologist, which she's now yours also, right?
Yes, she's mine. I switched.
Right. Okay, I was going to say, she's Karen's, but mine. Yeah, Karen has gotten you squared away with her docs. Yes. And then we got the end of the month. So then we have the Aortic Bridge Walk, which will happen the 18th. There will also be the Think Aorta Global Meetup, which will be the 19th on Aortic Dissection Awareness Day.
If you're not there, there'll be some lives from that.
Yeah. We'll be hopefully hosting our first bingo event. That's scheduled for the 22nd. That will be town hall, so that will not be broadcast on YouTube, but we'll be doing that all together. So some fun to take part in. And then we have Carmen's Run for Aortic Health. Hope Ambassador Carmen David, which probably a lot of people remember. I've done some interviews with her, but and if you're in the community, you know who she is. But she has her Run for Aortic Health scheduled for September 26th. So that's always a good time in the Texas area, the Dallas area. And then there'll be the live Q&A about disability. So
yes, and
there's a lot of stuff this month.
I ended up going with the people that do the disability talk. I ended up going with their office to represent me I did not try to represent myself in seeking disability, and they were wonderful.
Yeah, I mean, whatever it is, I mean, everybody has their own way. You can represent yourself. I obviously hit brick wall after brick wall.
Yeah, I chose
It wasn't until I got an attorney involved
right.
that the process, and even mine, and anybody that knew my story when it happened, you would have thought, oh, no one's going to turn it down. Nope, I was turned down multiple times.
There's too much to know. There's too much. One of the biggest things I learned that I didn't know was, even though I talked to my doctor about my limitations or my concerns, if my doctor did not write those things down, then it did not go into the record and it did not happen. So that was one of the biggest things I learned about disability and my disability application.
Right. It's about painting the correct picture of what is left behind by the incident itself.
And the impact, yes.
Yep. All right. So when we move forward now, to the Friday of last week, which was our first Friday fundraiser.
And thank you for the donations that did come in.
Yes, we've received donations. So it starts off today, and every first Friday of the month will be a $5 fundraising Friday for Aortichope. If everyone would consider donating just $5, we would be able to provide our initiatives to even more patients and survivors. For each and every $5 you donate, your name will be entered into a raffle for a prize, so long as we raise a minimum of $50. The entry time period ends at the end of the week, so we basically run it from Friday to Friday, I think. Or it might even be Friday to the following Sunday. I'm not 100% sure on that, but that would still give you time, because this was only last Friday. We're only at Tuesday, so you would still have a couple days. But once the minimum is raised, we will draw a name and announce a winner. And of course, you may donate at any time. You can find the donate buttons on Facebook, on the website itself. You can see I'm highlighting it right there in the corner. And your donated dollars are used for programs such as our Hope Mail initiatives and the care packages, some of the online support groups, Connecting Hearts contest prizes, and so much more. And, I know we make jokes about it with Thanks a Latte, and it's the potential of skipping one coffee. But I think when you don't realize that, or when you realize that skipping one coffee and donating $5 puts a pack of 50 of our tableside cards in a doctor's office. That's 50 patients that are potentially reached that find out about the support that we give.
Exactly. And I don't know what the cost. I don't have the price off of the top of my head of what the cost to purchase those cards, or the little.
The cards themselves are literally I might be misspeaking. It might be a package of 25 would run us basically the 5, and then it's the cost of the shipping.
Right, and that's what I was going to say.
So the cards themselves there. So even.
I know every time I ship one of those out in a box, it cost me, or not cost me, but cost Aortic Hope about $4.20 for each one.
Right, that's what I'm saying. So that so $10 at that point ships it out, with the case and the pack, and is going to reach that 25 to 50 people.
All 5 of your dollars go straight back into the community to support our mission. Yeah. And your mission to spread the word, because if you're an ambassador and you're here, you're trying to help.
Exactly. And it goes, like you said, it goes right back in. It pays for something else. So there's no,
Right. Nobody gets paid.
Yeah. There's no waste. There's a lot of that. Everything here is done volunteer wise, and everything goes back into the community itself. But so that is the fundraising Friday. And now we will move on to Surgeon Saturday. So we have Surgeon Saturday for Aortic Disease Month. And we started with the question of, what is a cardiothoracic surgeon? Now, from the Society of Thoracic Surgeons, a cardiothoracic surgeon is a medical doctor who specializes in surgical procedures of the heart, lungs, esophagus, and other organs located in the chest. This includes surgeons who can be called cardiac surgeons, cardiovascular surgeons, general thoracic surgeons, and congenital heart surgeons. Cardiothoracic surgeons will graduate from med school and go on to complete either a 5-year general surgery residency, followed by a 2 or 3-year cardiothoracic residency surgery program, or they might enter into a 6-year integrated cardiothoracic surgery residency. Some cardiothoracic surgeries choose to do additional training in a specialized area, but that training is optional with the exception of congenital heart surgery, which requires the completion of a 1-year fellowship in specific congenital heart surgeries. But for more information, I'm having problems speaking today. For more information regarding the role of a cardiothoracic surgeon, you can click the link below. So, I mean, yeah, that's pretty, clear. It paints a nice picture of what a cardiothoracic surgeon is. And we will eventually get into explaining what a vascular surgeon is. But a lot of people have a question of like, oh, who's the surgeon? Oh, I just found out incidentally I got diagnosed with this. Where do I go from here? Because I only found out through my primary care doctor.
Right.
Who do I speak to? Oh, okay. If it's thoracic, it's in your chest, you want a cardiothoracic surgeon as your consult. If it's abdominal, vascular surgeon. But both have a grasp of the aorta as themselves and often work in unison together.
They're in a team a lot of times is what I found.
Yeah. They might not be an individual case as a team, but they have surgeries that they're working hand in hand regularly with. And they're consulting each other even in situations. My surgery was done both endovascularly and open heart simultaneously. So both teams were in the room working at the same time, which is common sometimes. And that's basically it for today. Is there anything that you would like to add about?
No, but I'm really enjoying September because I learned so much. I mean,
yeah, no, it's a great informative month. It really is. And our weekend reviews will be a little longer and because of how informative it is, but people just have to bear with us, tolerate us a little longer. And now we're at Sunday, and this is the last thing I want to talk about in this and that. It was Signage Sunday and Aortic Disease Awareness Month, and we were pushing our "This Is What Hope Looks Like" third annual Community Hope campaign, and that we were still accepting photos. Now in this situation, we made it very easy this year. You don't have to print out the sign and hold it like we had previous years. We will Photoshop it into your favorite picture that you're happy with, whether it be of you, the survivor, whether it be of your family, anything. If you're a caregiver, if you're one of the doctors or nurses that follows us, we would like to see the cardio floor, the cardiothoracic floor come together, take a picture. We've gotten pictures from the nurses, the nursing teams on cardiac floors and stuff like that. But the important thing to know is that it's all about you. So continuing through Wednesday, September 15th, we offer you an opportunity to share to the rest of the community what hope looks like. And what hope looks like is every one of us that's doing it every day. So we want to relay that message. So if you email us a picture that you would like to use, or you can message it to us, but you can email it at info@aortichope.org. We will then do the magic of adding a photoshopping in the little sign. This is what hope looks like. And on September 19th, which everyone knows, I hope at this point, is Aortic Disease Awareness Day. We will show a video that will have all the photos of all of us that have survived, or patients or caregivers and loved ones that wanted to submit. By submitting your photos, you are granting aortichope permission to display them on our Facebook page, our Instagram, any of our social media, YouTube, our website. In addition, other Facebook pages or organizations may choose to share your photos as well. We put that up because we might have wink, wink, some say in some of the people that might be involved with Think Aorta US, and they might like to post some stuff from Aorticope occasionally. But and no compensation will be paid for participating in this community outreach initiative. And you share what you think, Tammy. What
it's fun. It's really fun when that comes together, when the video all comes together. And you did make it so much easier this year, because I remember I printed it out last year and like took it with me someplace that I was going, and tried to get the best picture possible. But this year it was so easy. I just went through my pictures and found one that I liked and sent it in. And I know every day we're receiving. I think we're going to have more people this year than we did last year.
Yeah, which is great. Yeah, no, this has been a little bit of a learning curve. We started off with one where the sign which I loved, but it made it even tougher. But we had "Hope Is," and everybody got to write what the hope was, and got to pose and stuff like that. And that was really great, because we had ones that nurses shared, and it was them holding "Hope Is," and it was better outcomes for our dissection patients and stuff like that. And you got to hear what everyone's individual hope was, which was really cool. But like you said, getting people to print it out. Not everybody has a printer, not every this, and it's more important that we want to see everyone's smiling faces.
I know we've received some from people kayaking, people just doing things, or just being like, I sent one in with my husband, just being able to do things with the people that are everyday normal things with my husband, going to dinner, going out on the beach, whatever.
Well, that's the hope. See, if we can get those activity, like where someone's at the beach or the kayak, now they don't have to worry about carrying a sign and getting it framed and, oh, can you read the sign or that?
Yeah.
No, nonsense. Get a picture of us. If it's you want to in a kayak, we'll put the little thing up. This is what hope looks like. You're still active.
Well, they've been rolling in, so send them in.
If it's you, out on a run. A lot of people still do runs or take place in 10Ks or walks or stuff like that.
Take
if it's you on that trail out hiking.
Take your picture with your doctor.
Yeah. And the important thing is Karen has talked about it, and it's not to diminish anybody that we've lost to this, but for years we've all seen it. We share, because those are the stories, the celebrity, whether it be John Ritter, whether it be Alan Thicke, whether it be Lucille Ball, whether it be Albert Einstein, whether it be General Patton, whether it be George C. Scott, which is ironic that both he and Patton both had it, since his biggest role was playing Patton. But, all the famous people, they are great for shedding light to the situation. But in a lot of those cases, they succumb to it. And we don't necessarily, you had something that happened to you that might be in common, but we have much more in common with each other. We're fighting the same fight daily, monthly, weekly, yearly. We're the ones that are continuing to have scans. It's not to say that what happened isn't a tragedy, and we should definitely take what we can learn from those. And it's great when a light is shed upon.
But we are surviving because of what we've learned.
Right, exactly.
My first open heart surgery was an emergency one. And when I tried to make an appointment with that cardiologist to go back and stay in touch with that person, he didn't see the need for it. And that's how I ended up with a different cardiologist, because we now know that people do need to be followed by their surgeon, not just a cardiologist. So we're learning things.
Exactly.
You have to advocate for yourself.
Exactly. You need a team. You know, we always talk about it. You know, they always throw out that cliche of needing a village.
Yeah.
You do. You need a village. We have both our support in this community amongst each other. We have the support that our group of doctors who are working intertwined, hopefully, that speak to each other. You know, in a perfect world, that's how we would want it. You know, and for a lot of people, initially, like you had said, I stumbled across this, and for a lot of people, it's, oh my God, incidental finding, found out you had aneurysm. Maybe you got a referral to a cardiologist. They worried about your BP. Now it's growing. Someone referred to you a surgeon. You talked about it. For those of us that didn't know, like you and I, where we're suddenly thrust in, you wake up, cardiothoracic surgeon's already been in your chest.
Yeah.
They've already done what they had to do. They maybe had 5 or 10 minutes to explain to you that you were life or death at the moment, and they're going in and they're going to do their best. And you're like, okay. And then now they have to explain to you, okay, well, I've done everything and I will follow you surgery wise, but you know, you start to understand they're a surgeon. They're not, they want your blood pressure in a certain area, but they're not the ones that are going to ensure that your BP is in a certain area once you go home. That's why you have a cardiologist, you know? So there's, you know, different
You
parts.
still
And
want that
hopefully,
you still want that relationship with that surgeon, is what we've learned.
right.
And I know uh, Ben Yodelman refers to it as that we're the new survivors, the first
Right.
generation of survivors.
Right.
And it's
And
true.
he always jokes about, he always talks about it, about his patients. I forgot exactly the words he used, but he always states it that, like, that you will be in each other's lives, him and his
Until the
patient,
end,
until
the
one of
rest of
them
your life.
goes. Until one of them goes. Because even in theory of, we might be so stable, it's going to be maybe pushing it a couple of years, and they're still going to want to follow you.
Yes. And I want them to, because I need that reassurance.
No, exactly. Nobody's going to give me that reassurance either. I wouldn't know what to do with myself.
Right.
If my doctor was like, hey, listen, Greg, you're 100% artificial now. You're half robot. I don't need to see you anymore. I wouldn't know what to do with myself.
I want my surgeon, my cardiologist is great reading my my CT scan, and I'm grateful for it, but I want that surgeon who's been in there and knows what his work is in there. I want him putting eyeballs on that CT scan, and that's what's making a difference in our survival.
Well, that's the difference. Yeah, that's the thing. I mean, a lot of people will feel that, you know, I don't really, in my opinion, I don't need my cardiologist to read my scan. I don't want him to. I want my surgeon to read my scan. I want my cardiologist to read and understand the radiology report and what my surgeon sees from the scan, and how we're going to apply it to my blood pressure regimen moving forward. That's what I need out of my cardiologist.
That's exactly how I feel.
But that's not to say that an extra set of eyeballs, if they're truly somebody that understands a scan, you know, but not everybody is fortunate that they might not be with a cardiologist by them that is that versed in dissection.
But that helps you know,
or sees it that much. So what they really need to do at that point is to kind of take marching orders from their surgeon and kind of institute like a blood pressure regimen that the surgeon is looking for to keep stable.
Yes, I agree.
But that's pretty much it. That wraps up the week.
It was a good week.
It's a good week. And Tammy, I want to thank you for being with us. And I want to tell everyone out there in YouTube land, don't forget to like and subscribe. You will get notified of future videos before they happen. So make sure to click the like on this video and subscribe so that you can be informed. Any parting words, Tammy?
No, just happy aortic dissection month as we learn more and more. It makes me happy to learn more about my condition and to share the information with people.
This is your real first year with us, like embedded where it's September, where you see like what goes into like doing this September.
And it sounds weird to say Happy Aortic Disease Awareness Month, but if you survived it, you are happy, and you do want to share the information. So
exactly, there is celebratory in this, even though it's like we always we say it in kind of our grief. We're not happy. Tammy or I are never happy to see new people in this community.
No.
We would hope that it would never happen to anyone again. However, we are realistic knowing that it is happening to people. And I think I can speak for you to say that, yeah, we're happy they found us.
Right. And we're happy to help.
Exactly. So
okay.
For Tammy,
Happy Tuesday.
I'm Fred Greenberg, and thank you for joining us. And we will see you next week. We will be back on Monday, moving back to our regular slot on Monday. So we will see you then. And thanks a lot, everybody.
Bye, everyone.